Hello, and welcome to the Professor Podcast with Ruth and Claire. Each episode, we talk about a particular topic in the life of a professor. We are tenure-track faculty members in the sciences, working at a primarily undergraduate university in California. The purpose of our podcast is reflection, so we bring something we think is working and something we're working on to discuss. Welcome to the Professor Podcast with Ruth and Claire. I'm Claire.
And I'm Ruth. And today we're going to talk about energy. But before we do that, Claire, how was your week?
It was great. I wanted to tell you about a fun thing we did where Ralph and I were sitting around and we were like, we would like to have Oreo milkshakes because we sometimes go out and get Oreo milkshakes.
Oh, nice.
And we were like, what? Should we actually go out and get Oreo milkshakes? And then we thought of making our own Oreo milkshakes, which was so fun. And so we just went and got some ice cream and some Oreos and some milk and just like smashed them up with our immersion blender. And it was delicious and so fun and a spontaneous idea that was super fun. And then like a couple days later, I was like, what if we made a mango milkshake? And we got a mango and made a mango milkshake. It was great. So anyway.
There's no end to what you could do.
You could do it with anything. Just check out the fruit aisle, the cookie aisle. Yeah. So super fun. Highly recommend. Make your own milkshakes.
Well, that's the thing. We're finding out all these things about ourselves, right?
Right. I wouldn't have thought to. We would have just gone to wherever and gotten some, and it would have been fun. It always has been fun, but this was a new fun way of doing it that I wouldn't have even thought of.
That is super cool. I'm into it. Very cool.
What about you? How are you?
My week is good. I am writing a grant. I should probably go back and listen to our excellent episode about writing grants. But
good idea.
Yeah, I'm writing a grant, and yes, and you were super generous with your time and gave me a bazillion helpful comments, which is so wonderful. But you know when someone looks through your stuff and you first get the comments and you kind of want to lay down on the floor and like, you know, they're going to really help and make it better, but you're like, oh man.
You're like, oh, you're right. That didn't make sense. I know what you mean. Well, like, it's so scary to send your grant to somebody.
It is terrifying. And even you, because you're so lovely, but it was still terrifying. But it's just, you get so like that, you can't see the forest for the trees, but like you're just so immersed in it. And then like when you pull the lens back or someone else looks at it and you're like, oh wow, that really doesn't make any sense. Or it's
totally
totally.
I always find somebody makes a comment and my first response is like, that's not at all what I meant. And then like a little bit later I'm like, okay, I guess I'll figure out how to make it clear what I did mean, you know?
Yeah, totally. But yours are always so polite because you're like, this is so great, but I'm wondering if like, I like the way you frame it, so that's good.
Well, congratulations on writing a grant. It seems like you're almost done. You have 1 week.
One more
left.
week, yes. Which is good news and bad news. But, you know, simultaneously, you're like, I wish it was due tomorrow, so it'd just be gone. And then you're also like, I need 15 more weeks to do this adequately. So I'm like, right in the, like...
Totally.
But yeah.
I heard a thought one time where people were thinking about removing deadlines from NSF grants. And then the arguments are like, oh, but then would anyone ever submit them? Like, you need the deadline.
My brain is like, but then why would anyone do it ever? But, yeah.
But of course you do submit papers and stuff, and those don't have deadlines. And
do we?
I don't know.
Do I, Claire? Because I don't.
Yeah, it's been a while for me too.
But no, yes.
I'm sure we both have in the past.
True.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Okay, so do you want to say a little bit about what we mean by energy? Because we're not talking kinetic and potential.
Totally.
Yes.
Yeah. So
oh no, wait, pause. Sorry. I just totally forgot how we do this. And the quote.
Okay, I'll say the quote first. Yes. So this quote is Jen Sincero, who wrote You Are a Badass, which is an awesome book. Highly recommend. And the quote is, it's the people who make enjoying their lives a priority who enjoy their lives.
Wow.
I know.
Dude.
Mind-blowing, huh? So her book is awesome. It distills tons of self-improvement into one fun and effective book. And she drops bombs like that, which is just true, but I've never really thought about that before.
But you don't. You just assume that people who are happy, it happens by accident.
Right.
And like it's
they've like arranged circumstances to make it them happy instead of that they're prioritizing enjoying their lives. Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, cool.
So, and I thought that fit with energy because it is an intentional thing.
Totally.
Yeah. So, energy. What do we mean by energy? I was thinking, so first of all, we got this idea from Stefan someone who emailed us, and I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong, but thank you for the awesome idea.
Yes, and please email us. We love it. We get so overexcited and we send each
It's
other
so
about 20
exciting.
texts and we get super
Yeah.
excited.
It's so exciting. Thank you for emailing us. So energy that we might get pre-quarantine, where we're changing location and we're interacting with people and all those kind of energy adding things, we have less of that when we're quarantining in our house. So how do we compensate and maintain being energetic is what I'm thinking of. Do you have any other thoughts to add to that?
No, that's exactly it. Yeah. And there's so many, just the natural ebb and flow of our day is completely gone. And so, yeah,
Totally.
what is the ways that we can make things a priority and be intentional?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
So what is working for you with energy?
So I think a big thing for me that really works is achieving things. It's like every time I actually achieve something, it like puts way more energy into what I'm doing. And I kind of wanted to circle back to what you brought up in the productivity episode
Uh-huh.
about having a highlight for your day, and that has worked so well for
Oh,
me.
you've been doing it.
So
Awesome.
it's so awesome. And it really makes me like you have this one thing and it just makes something stand out. Instead of being five things you have to do, it's like, okay, but I'm going to do this one thing. And then just that little boost you get from feeling good for achieving something, that
Yes.
is really helping me kind of energize with things.
I
Like
love
I'm
it.
like, I'm anticipating feeling so great when I get this done, so I'm going to have energy and bring it to it. And so that is good. And I
Totally.
think one thing that is
That's
good
great.
in my day at the moment is there's a lot of distraction. I'm changing things a lot because 5 and 7 year olds change things a lot, and so there's a
Uh-huh.
lot of that happening. And um, I've also been kind of making a practice of doing yoga
Ooh.
like every couple of days, and so that's super helpful. And I don't have a great attitude to like sort of health like or like kind of body use. Like I just sort of think
Okay.
of like my body as this like this like capsule for my brain to carry it around, and so I
Uh-huh.
forget about the essential like movement and all of that stuff. And like I do it because I understand that the kids need to be run around or we go out and do stuff, but
Ah.
like for myself I don't really seem to make that connection between, yes, actually taking an hour off and doing yoga is going to make me more productive when I'm
Totally.
doing work. And so I'm trying to really kind of connect with that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How do you do your yoga? Do you like follow along to some video
Yeah, there's
or
this
what?
amazing woman who I used to go to her yoga class in person called Ali McCall, and she
Mhm.
is just has her videos on YouTube. And
Oh, awesome.
somehow I wish I could capture what she does for my actual physics classes because it's really immersive. Whatever way she's describing things, it really works for me, and like I could stay in the yoga moment. And so she's really great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Sounds
tell me,
good.
what about what's working for you?
I think it works really well for me to have this balance between having a schedule and doing some spontaneous things,
You're
which
making
comes
me
back to the
nervous with the
fun.
spontaneous things. I'm like, no, it's going to be rules,
Well,
but yeah,
maybe
I'm
you already
like,
have spontaneity with your 5 and 7 year
they
olds
do. They bring a lot
automatically
of that. That's for
inserted.
sure.
Yeah. So the schedule, of course. I also have the highlight written down on my notes. I love having the schedule and having a plan. The highlight of the day is really helpful for my mindset, being intentional, working on things. Yeah, just knowing what I'm working on and working on it and feeling good. The highlight and having a schedule is awesome for that. And for me, it's really helpful to mix it up with some kind of spontaneity things like making your own Oreo milkshakes
Nice.
or going to we have these dunes nearby. I love going to the dunes nearby and just kind of running around and exploring.
Yeah.
Or it could even be cleaning or a work task or something, but something spontaneous rather than something that's been sitting there on your to-do list.
Yeah.
Yeah, that balance. For me, the balance helps keep me energetic and enthusiastic about what I'm doing to have a nice sprinkling of both schedule and spontaneity. Yeah.
Yes. Totally. I love that. That is awesome.
Yeah. And so just remembering to do that, I guess, because it's really easy to be like, I'm going to follow my schedule. And that works. But at some point I start to be like, I'm sick of this schedule, So, and that the counterbalance to that is
You can build in
spontaneity.
rebellions. I like it.
Exactly.
So you don't
Built-in
completely
rebellions.
have a mutiny and like totally not do anything. That's awesome.
Totally. And the other thing I've been, I've been thinking about is I think I mentioned a while ago I had reminders on my phone that would pop up periodically with whatever I was working on. So yeah, reminders on my phone that remind me to get into whatever states that I'm currently working on. So I used to have ones that said positive, focused, and enthusiastic. That would come up a few times a day, and then one thing at a time came up other times of day. And recently I updated them because I felt like I had those, kind of, I wasn't really working on those anymore. So anyway, I find that really helpful and totally applicable to getting energy and getting in the right state of mind. Just little reminders if these are the states that I'm trying to be. And having it pop up unexpectedly on my phone is always good because that's probably not when I was actively thinking about that,
Yeah, I love it. Because this is all like, it's all back to that quote you had at the beginning. It's just this like prioritizing, right? And like bringing it up to the forefront of your mind. Like, yes, this is important to me. And Claire yesterday went to the trouble of writing this into her phone because it was important to her. And right now, this thing that I got caught up in seems important, but that's not what I should be doing.
Yeah. Helps mediate getting caught up and forgetting what you actually want to do.
Yeah.
So what are you working on with energy?
Yes. So I think some of it is working and some of it is not working, but the whole concept of like a natural frequency of something, like
No.
like if you have a kid on a swing and if you push it at like a certain frequency, like it will actually boost their movement and like enhance it. Like you're sort of driving an oscillator anyway, but like things having a natural frequency. And regularly I find a lot of lists I wrote for myself in grad school, and the thing that was always on there is like be the pendulum. Like that was always my goal, was to like have this frequency. And I remember reading a lot like if you get up at the same time every day, your body will start to kind of wake up at that time. And if you always go to bed at the same time and eat it, like even I read some stuff about like if you eat at the same time every day, this is maybe a bit gross, but your body starts producing digestive juices. Sorry, that got a bit graphic there with the digestive, but like, it starts to kind of prepare for like food is coming at this time.
Right.
And it was this whole concept of like, if you get into this frequency, you're actually like energizing and optimizing your energy. And so something that I'm really struggling with at the moment work-wise, it's a good news, bad news, but I have no rhythm to my work at the moment. It's like these stolen moments, or like Eric's, like my schedule when I'm teaching is very, has this kind of rhythm to it, right? Every week. But his meetings are just completely, can be whenever, at any time of the day. So I can't always get the same periods of time. Like the negotiations to get my periods of time to work aren't always at the same time. Do you know what I mean? And so I definitely, and I think that will be a little different when the kids are back in school, even if they're not physically in school, but we could have a bit more rhythm to our days.
Sure.
And so I like that. And something I was going to say at the beginning and I didn't, but I mentioned before this whole idea of the tech Sabbath.
Yes. Tell us more about that.
We've been doing it for a while and it's awesome, but I can feel it happening where like on Friday, I'm really like, oh yeah, it's happening tonight. Like we're going to be turning off our phones. And you kind of, this rhythm to the week that I haven't had for ages. Because especially with the beginning of the quarantine, like Eric was working on Saturdays to make up for the times that he wasn't working during the week that I was working, and I was working in the evenings to make up for the times, and it's like everything is just, there is no stop and start to the day.
Right.
And now, like at first I was like, I don't want to turn off my stupid laptop. Like whose stupid idea was this tech Sabbath, even though it was my stupid idea. But now I find myself being like, oh, okay, great, it's on its way. Like it's, because
you're
you
used
have this
to it
frequency.
and expecting it. Awesome.
Yeah. So I would love to find trying to be some kind of a pendulum.
That's cool. So, and by pendulum, it sounds like you're talking about a system that's repeating. And so you start augmenting the system by your expectation of it repeating or something like that.
Right. And like you could start getting sleepy because you always go to bed at this time.
Right,
You know
right.
what I
I
mean?
see.
And,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so yeah. So I think, and sometimes in the past, not so much this year, but in the past, sometimes I'm almost like by the end of the summer, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm ready to get back into a bit more routine
Uh-huh.
and like kind of, you know, and then of course at the beginning of the summer, you're desperate to have no routine and you can be a
Right.
little more, yeah. So there's that. And then I think I'm having a hard time sort of making good choices energy wise.
Okay.
Like, there's not a lot, I don't have a lot of alone time during my day. So sometimes when
Uh-huh.
I get into bed, I'm just so happy to be by myself and
Right.
like read for a bit. So I'm like reading too late and
Uh-huh.
you know, like there's days where I'm like, I really need to go to bed early, but you're like, but I could watch a whole show and
Uh-huh.
like not have anyone.
Uninterrupted. Yeah.
Yeah, like so that can be. I'm not always making the best
Interesting.
choices. And when is it the best choice to be like, actually, it's good to
Right. Because
decompress
sometimes you
and.
do need, maybe
Hmm.
maybe reading was actually more important than a full night's sleep
Totally.
if those were the only two options. Yeah.
Right. So tell me, what
Yeah.
about you? What are you working on energy wise?
Well, before I say, I want to, can you tell us more about the tech Sabbath and how that works and
Oh,
what the
dude.
rules are?
So I again want to say like that. I got this book called The Power of Ritual by Casper ter Kuile, and
Uh-huh.
it's all about kind of making different things sacred in your week. And he's been doing it since 2014, this tech Sabbath. And at first I was like, because I think one thing that's happening for us is that, like I said, we used to not work at home that much, or at least when the
Uh-huh.
kids were awake. And so they're like, why are you on your phone all the time? And
Mm-hmm.
you know, and we're kind of coming to the point where they obviously don't have phones now, but at some point in the next 5 years, they're going to want to have a phone. And how are we going to say, don't be stuck in your phone all
Sure.
the time when, you know, so we've been talking about this for years about wanting to be less hooked into the phone.
Uh-huh.
And I think I mentioned this to you before, but I'm a terrible doom scroller where I just get hooked into the news. I'm like, oh God, oh, there's this terrible thing. Oh, here's another terrible thing. And, you know, so and that's obviously gotten a lot worse over the last few months. So the way we do it is at like 6 o'clock on a Friday,
Uh-huh.
we gather up all the devices, like the kids, the TV remotes. They have like one of those tablet that they listen to audiobooks on that goes
Okay.
in there. Me and Eric's phones go in, and then we do this thing with them where we light a candle and have this ritual thing. But anyway,
Oh, cool.
and then we put the box away. And so the box is gone. And I actually have an old stupid phone or dumb phone or whatever they call
Mm-hmm.
it. And so my anxiety, because we're so dependent on them, and we've been going out a lot to like
Mm-hmm.
nature. And so I want to have something in the car. So we
Sure.
have that for if we really desperately. And I've told people in Ireland that phone number, like if something super desperate happens,
Sure.
they can
So
call
if
us
you
on
get a
that.
flat tire and you need to call a tow truck or
Totally.
something, you can still do that. Yeah,
Oh
that
my God,
makes
I hadn't thought
sense.
of that now. I'm like, I better write down a
Oh no.
Facebook phone number. But anyway, like, you know, something. And then so we put everything away and the laptops go away and the computer.
Okay.
And I
And
think I
how
told
long
you
are they gone?
the
Oh,
kids
go
were
ahead.
like, can we still use light switches? We were like, yeah, we can still use light switches on the fridge and stuff. And then so it's just gone until the following night at
So
six
24
o'clock.
hours on Saturday.
And it's really like, it really resets me. Like, I
Awesome.
find for a couple of days afterwards, I'm not as hooked into my phone. And then, of course, by
Mm-hmm.
Thursday, I'm back to full doom scrolling like mode. But
Interesting.
yeah, and then the thing that happened too is like nothing happens. Do you know what I mean? There
Right.
isn't this
Totally.
email that like I'm going to lose my job if I don't reply to it. Like, you know, because you get so,
I
everything feels
know.
so desperate and you have to take care of it all immediately. Or,
Totally.
you know, what if, and like now that I've said that out loud, I feel like something terrible is going to happen because
We better
I'm
knock
like
on wood.
jinxing it. But yeah. Um, but you know what I mean? It's like,
I
it's
do.
fine. And I definitely, like, we end up chatting more and we've been playing board games and we went to the
How
lagoon last
nice.
weekend and just swam all day. And it was just so, things happen that would not happen if I was looking at my phone,
Totally.
for sure.
It reminds me, like to a lesser extent, my not checking my email after 5 p.m.
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
which, yeah, you feel, I mean, and then I've got a little post-it note on my wall right now that says email only once a day, which, I mean, especially in the summer, come on, you know?
But dude, that it still feels revolutionary though.
It
Like when you
feels
said it, I was like,
revolutionary.
"Oh, Claire!" Like,
No,
"Oh, there."
totally. And it's and what you're saying about you feel like when you get back to check your email the next day, you're gonna something will have disaster will have happened since the previous day, but that's quite rare. And most of the time, you can get through all the emails in a much shorter time when it's all condensed, and then you
Yeah,
can focus on something. I'm saying you, but this is my experience of just not looking at the email is actually fine. There wasn't that email that says you'll be fired if you don't reply in 30 seconds or
I
whatever.
know, and that probably was spam anyway. Whatever if it
Right,
says
yeah.
that, like, but yeah, it's really, it's blowing my mind. And of course, at first, I was like, "Oh yeah, we'll do this," and then I'll get caught up on laundry, and then in the book, it's like, "No, no, you can't do
No, no.
any like you know." And then I kind of like too because he has a thing where it's like, and you kind of prepare the house as if the queen is coming. So you like do I get all
Oh,
the cleaning done beforehand, and like the house is all nice, and we're just kind of relaxing, and it's been really cool.
that sounds awesome. I love
It's
it. And
yeah, and
so great for getting a schedule and your energy. Yeah,
totally.
I love it.
Because now
And
it feels like we have a
intentionality, what's
weekend.
important. Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
yeah, totally. And it's kind of weird because I just constantly feel like this sort of low level shame and guilt all the time
Hmm.
about things I'm not doing. And
Oh,
it's
but you've
kind of
decided you're not doing
right.
it.
And so, but it's kind of like, okay, I'm not playing a board game with the kids all day, every day, but I will do it on Saturday. So it's okay, and like, it's kind of nice having, and then we kind of extended it into on Sunday, we do some kind of house
Mm-hmm.
project thing and still not kind of doing work. And
Mm-hmm.
but again, like it's like, oh, I should deal with that, but I'll deal with it on Sunday because Sunday's the day when we're doing.
Right.
So I like it's helping me a lot.
And also, then everybody's on the same page. Like Saturday, we're doing fun things together. Sunday is the household thing. So it's, yeah, you don't have to establish, is now a time when we can play a board game. Um, yeah,
Totally.
it's great.
Yeah.
So,
And I think I've always, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Well, I've always had this vague, like, just give up your phone, like, stop being on your phone so much. But that's too nebulous. Do you know what I mean?
Right. This is very specific. 6
Mm-hmm.
p.m. to 6 p.m. gone. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I love it.
totally. Cool. Okay, sorry. So tell me, what are you working on energy wise?
Um, Mostly getting back when I fall off track with energy, like if it's going great, then that's great, but then at some point it's bound to something will go wrong and I'll find myself in a position of not having energy or not doing what I want to do or something. So how to get back on track at that point. And it kind of depends in which way I've fallen off. Like sometimes it's I've been too scheduled for too long and I just need to do something spontaneous.
Mm,
Um, or sometimes it's that I need to do something for myself, just like go bake some cookies or read my book or something that I just enjoy doing myself. Or sometimes it's more like I've been trying to do 25 different things at work all at once, and I instead need to intentionally choose my highlight. So it can be a variety of solutions depending on the cause, but it always takes me a little bit longer than I'd like it to figure out what the solution is and get back on track, you know? So that's what I'm working on, how to get back in the good energy mindset when something goes awry.
dude. Oh my God. Yes. But this is my thing, right? Like when things are going well, I kind of fight to keep it that way. And
Uh-huh.
once they go a bit wrong, I'm like, well, that's it. It's doomed.
Okay.
So I may as well just
Messed
roll
up.
down the hill. Yeah. And I actually heard a podcast by Brene Brown where she was talking about this, but she called it something like a family emergency plan. Like if everybody's
Okay.
fighting and things are going wrong,
Ah.
like if this is like, oh, okay, this is happening and these are the steps we take to get back.
Right. I see. That's cool. That's
And
cool.
like I have like with the kids, they're playing, and then as the frequency of their fights increases, I'm like, oh, they
Mm.
need to eat. Like I'm getting them food. Like no matter
Right.
what, it's like, here you go, here's some food. And they're like, that's not what this is. And then they eat and they're fine. And you're like, oh, that is what that was. But like to yeah, recognizing
Yeah.
this is happening.
That's good. I like that. Yeah, because sometimes I feel like it's all in my mind, and sometimes a lot of it is, realizing that I think I quoted Tony Robbins a while ago, you get a second chance every second.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I'm feeling the wrong energy right now doesn't mean I have to feel it right now. That was last second. Let me start anew. That is very important, paired with, oh, maybe I need to eat something or whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
And I think
some
I go
intentionality.
very quickly to, oh, I guess I'm just a lazy jerk now.
Right, exactly.
Instead of, oh, okay, maybe you do need to go frolic in the dunes for a bit and then you'll,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. But it's all about awareness that what the problem might be and
Sometimes
working
you
on
need
it.
that
So,
external observer too. You need Ralph to come
yes,
in and
that's
be
very
like,
helpful.
hey, Pickle, you need to go and like have a milkshake or like, yeah,
Totally. Yeah.
yeah. But that doesn't work. Although whenever Eric does stuff like that, I'm like, no, it's not because I'm hungry. How dare you? That's not what's happening. And so I'm more indignant. But yeah.
Totally. Well, this has been helpful. It's good to hear our different approaches and how to work it to keep our energy up.
Well,
I like it.
I appreciated that email because it's something that I don't think I thought I did that during my day, but I
Right.
did because like you're constantly changing scene from being in your office to being in the classroom to, oh, I'm going to
Totally.
go walk around, or like you had all these things in your day that were like, yeah,
Yeah,
for this purpose, and now we have to actually think about it and structure it again at home.
totally. It's a very astute point that walking to a different room and going home and going to your office and then physically meeting with people does provide energy. And so that's a very particular thing that we need to compensate for right
Yeah.
now.
Cool. Okay, thanks, Claire. We're going to be
Thanks so much, Ruth.
energetically bounding into this semester.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. Okay.
And thanks, Ralph, as
Thanks,
always.
Ralph. Thanks so much for joining us on the Professor Podcast with Ruth and Claire. We're delighted to have you as a listener and we would love to hear from you. And if you want to email us, our address is contactprofessorpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear any of your suggestions for future shows or professor quotes that you might want to share with us, or even just things that have come up for you when you were listening to previous episodes. And if you've been enjoying the podcast, we would love if you would spread the word. So the best way to spread word is by telling people you know if you think they should listen to it, or you can leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.